My main goal is justice and the law. That's been my legacy, and the legacy I hope to continue into the future with this show.
Matthew Cho claims he was unfairly fired from his job as a sous chef after the owner's nephew was hired for the same position. Charles Wilhite says Mr. Cho was warned about his bad attitude before getting the axe.
All right, Mr. Cho, you are suing Mr. Wilhite for $5,320 in wages that you say he owes you for unfairly firing you. Tell me what's going on.
So let me start with my backstory, Your Honor. So I grew up from a family of immigrants back in Korea, and my father was a very wonderful chef. And when I was young, I would often stand by him and watch him cook all these gourmet foods ranging from Chinese cuisine and Japanese cuisine. And then after he passed away, I decided to honor his legacy by becoming a chef myself.
Okay.
And starting from that, I worked a few odd jobs in restaurants. Then I decided to go to culinary school in Indiana. And shortly after I finished my education, I moved to Boston since my mother went to college there. And that's where I met Charles over here. And he gave me the opportunity to work at his restaurant as a sous chef. And it was such a wonderful opportunity that I was going to be able to pursue my dreams. But unfortunately, it started after a year and 9 months into my career. He hired his nephew, Elliot, to become a sous chef, which was very odd considering that I had to climb up the ropes just to become a sous chef because of the demanding position, but Elliot somehow gets the job right there off the bat.
Well, he's a nephew.
Sure.
Do you not understand that part?
Yes,
it seems unfair, and you don't like it. The two of you are both sous chefs. Is that normal? Like, is that typical?
Yes. I needed to have two sous chefs because I was not technically in the kitchen anymore. I was more of like helping the customers, you know, just talking to them, making sure the food's good when it comes out. And as our restaurant got busier, one sous chef was not enough. And so I decided to hire Elliot as my second sous chef.
And did you have any problems with Elliot?
In the beginning, I decided to give him a chance because,
well, because it's not your restaurant, but go on.
Yeah, no, of course. So Charles asked me to, show him the ropes, take him under my wing as a sous chef, and I started noticing that he has the lack of knowledge and skills to become a sous chef because sous chef is not exactly an entry-level position. There's a lot that goes into it. You're the second in command of the head chef.
Did you have problems with him where you argued with him?
Yes, Your Honor.
How often?
The first, I'd say, few months were going all right.
They only worked 2 months together.
Hold on. I'm not talking to you. Go ahead.
Okay, so the beginning, it was going all right. And then I started noticing just him not finishing up his work or...
Right, so did you have arguments with him?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and when you had arguments, what involvement, if any, would Charles have in it?
He told me that I should take it easy a little on him and not to be so harsh on him on his job.
Okay. And so what happens on the night in question when you end up getting fired?
It started when Elliot made a huge grease fire in the kitchen, which not only signifies a lack of knowledge or just lack of experience, but it's also a hazard to the restaurant itself. And the fact that he wasn't able to take care of that, he was panicking and very frantic and wasn't sure of what to do. Because if
don't you guys have a fire extinguisher handy?
Yes.
Like
Yes,
right at the... Okay, so who got the fire extinguisher?
I did.
Okay, so what did you say to Elliot after you put out the fire?
I told him that his lack of knowledge and abilities is going to be a problem in the long run.
That's what you said? Elliot, come up. What did he say?
Your Honor, he told me that I don't belong in any restaurants in the world, and that, well, he said something about my mother. What
did he say about your mother?
I don't want to repeat it in a court.
No, well, you got to give me. I don't know what on earth you could possibly be implying, so I can't assume it.
He called her a ma'am.
Okay, but what did he call you something?
Yes, ma'am. He said that I was incompetent and useless and...
Well, how's your mother come into it?
Oh, because he just got personal. He always gets personal, ma'am.
Okay. Were you listening to this, Charles?
I hear a bunch of yelling and cussing coming from the back kitchen.
Did you know who it was?
Of course I know who it is, because I had to talk to Matthew a few different times. This is before Elliot was even there. So this is not the first time I've had problems with Matthew.
Coming up on Justice for the People.
All I hear is cussing in the back. I know exactly who it is.
What do you hear him saying?
He's cussing at him.
And saying what?
You want me to say it?
Yes, I want you.
Okay.
Yes, I want the facts.
And later,
We had a remote incident, and I went ahead and replaced
Wait
her.
a second. What happened with the remote?
It
She
went
lost
missing.
it, Your Honor. I'm sorry. I am talking to her.
if you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. Judge Milian. We're back with a dispute between Matthew Cho and his former boss, Charles Wilhite, over too many cooks in the kitchen.
So I'm out looking at customers. They're looking at me like, what is going on over here? And all I hear is cussing in the back. I know exactly who it is. So, I go back there. Guys, calm down. I let everything go.
When you say guys calm down, was your nephew yelling back at him?
No, for some reason, you give the guy like a little title, a little name title, and he thinks he's above everybody else. When in reality is, we're all a team. We work as a team. And him being the sous chef, he needs to understand that you can't be yelling at people. Look up to you. You're there to mentor other people that, all the other cooks.
Well, I think what he was thinking was that your nephew was going to take his job, maybe.
That's right. He might have been thinking that, but that's not the case.
Right. So you come in and he's screaming, and what is he saying? What do you hear him saying?
He's cussing at him.
And saying what?
Do you want me to say it?
Yes, I want you.
Okay.
Yes, I want the facts. That's exactly what I want.
He
yes.
said, what is wrong with you?
Okay,
He
go
goes,
on.
how you start a fire inside of a restaurant?
Okay.
He goes, are you stupid?
Okay.
And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? So after the restaurant closed, I pulled both of them aside, and I'm like, what is going on with you guys? You've had a problem with Elliot ever since I hired him, for no reason at all. And I'm like, I can't have this with you. I've warned you 2 other times that you cannot be
Tell me about the 2 other times.
So the other time was, he was telling another cook how to cut the onions. And I'm like, he's cutting the onions. Well, he should be cutting it this way. Just let him cut it the way he wants. He's not cutting his finger off, so who cares?
How is that inappropriate behavior on his part?
Because he's belittling the other person, the other cook, on how it should be done when he's doing it perfectly.
That's not belittling.
Yes,
Okay,
it is.
I'm sorry. Hold on. All right.
Go ahead.
You've told me that instance. Tell me any other instance.
So the other one was one of the other cooks, too. He basically was telling him that, you should work harder. You should look up to me because, if you want to get to where I'm at, this is what you need to do. And it's like, why?
Okay, you're just telling me that he has a bad personality. I want to know, when has his behavior so crossed the line that you have had to issue a warning to him? Once, you're telling me, is when someone was cutting onions wrong.
Yes.
And he said, don't cut the onions that way. That's not how you should cut onions. And somehow you feel that that's like a disciplinary action.
Well, because the other cook comes up to me going, why is he coming up to me telling me to do this a certain way? There's ways of doing things. There's ways of walking up to somebody saying, hey, maybe you should do it like this. But when your tone of voice...
So the other cook walked up to you and told you what?
That Matthew comes up to him and told him, you need to do this way. This is the way I would cut it. This is the way you should cut it. I don't like it done another way.
How is that belittling him, though? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Because his tone of voice towards him.
Okay.
That's what I'm going by. If he goes up and says, hey,
so you talk to Matthew and you tell him what?
I tell him, I said, you need to talk to the other employees on a normal stage here. You can't be like talking on...
How many times have you told him you got to lower your voice and you can't scream at them and you got to...
Ever since he became a sous chef, it was twice.
Sometimes that's what it takes.
Hold on a second, sir. Go on.
When Elliot came into the picture and started working there, that's when it all went left. Then that's when he took it up another level, and then he's basically, like Elliot was saying, just treated him like he was nothing.
He creates a hostile work environment, Your Honor.
Are you working somewhere else now?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
Okay. Are you a sous chef there?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so that night when he comes in and talks to you guys, what does he say to you?
He says, I can't have this go on anymore. You've been yelling at everyone and belittling them. But, Your Honor, I feel that was my way of trying to push them to be better chefs. because I can't.
Right, but you're not the boss. If he's the boss and he says, you need to stop doing this, then at some point you do need to stop doing it, or you need to find another place to work, because it's not giving you your creative license that you want. But you're describing a situation where he's warned you multiple times, and that's important because you're suing under an employment contract that says you can only be fired if you've been warned. Let's see what your employment contract says. The employee is not an at-will employee. The employer may only terminate the employee if unprofessional conduct proves repetitive and unchanged after warning. So, you know, you admit that you scream at people because you feel like it's pushing them, and you admit that he has warned you repeatedly that he doesn't want you to do that, and then he fires you when you're totally losing it on his nephew, and then you say it's a wrongful termination. How so, if he had repeatedly warned you of the unprofessional conduct and you still were doing things your way? I don't think there's any question, even in your mind, that what you did that night was 100% unacceptable. Is there? Screaming at another sous chef saying F this and F that so that the customers hear? You don't think that's okay, do you? Oh, my God, you think it's okay. All right, well, good luck in your new job, and I don't find this to be a wrongful termination, and I don't find that the defendant owes you a month's salary.
Judge Milian has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim is denied.
Good luck with your no-good deadbeat nephew.
Yeah, good luck at your other job that you probably get fired for.
Coming up.
What is it that you said to her then?
I like my smoothies a little thick.
Okay, but what does that have to do with the blender not working? Nobody asked you, hey, how do you like your smoothies?
Tasha Samuels claims her ex-roommate needs to pay up after she broke expensive exercise equipment and a blender. Sierra Baker says she isn't to blame because the plaintiff's belongings weren't brand new.
Ms. Samuels, you are suing your former roommate, Ms. Baker, for breaking your equipment and breaking your blender. Tell me what happened.
Yes, Your Honor. So Sierra and I have been friends for quite a while. We had been friends for about a year, just like doing workout classes together. We had a great time drinking matcha lattes, as girls do. And then we decided that we would be great roommates. So we moved in together. 6 months in, she broke my blender.
What did she do to break it?
She put too much ice in it without enough liquid, and so it blew the engine in the motor.
How do you know that she did that?
Because she told me, because I confronted her about it.
Okay. How did the blender break?
No, that is not true at all. I just was using it one day and went to push the start button, and it just didn't start.
Okay, so it didn't work for you at all either?
No.
Okay, so no one knows how the blender broke? She says that you told her I must have put too much ice.
No, I don't do that much ice.
All I'm interested in is what you said to her then. What is it that you said to her then?
I like my smoothies a little thick.
Okay, but what does that have to do with the blender not working? Like, how did it come up? In other words, if it's not that you think you broke the blender, I'm just trying to figure how. Nobody asked you, hey, how do you like your smoothies?
Yeah, I mean, it did happen when I was making the smoothie.
Did you feel you broke her blender?
No.
Or you just felt guilty?
Yeah, I felt guilty.
All right, so did you replace the blender?
No.
No. All right. So what did you guys do for a blender?
We didn't have one until I bought a new one.
Okay, you did buy a new one. So did you tell her, hey, the new one cost X?
Yeah.
Did you expect her to pay for the blender?
I expected, yeah.
Coming up.
It went missing, and
The remote got lost?
Yes.
Okay, would you look harder, because the remote can't grow legs and leave, as I tell my husband all the time, you know?
Milian. We're back with the case of Tasha Samuels, who blames Sierra Baker for breaking her blender, an exercise machine.
So now let's talk about the Pilates machine, because that's the bigger ticket item. What happened?
So I got the Pilates machine from my mom. She had it in the garage for
And what was
a while.
it? A reformer?
It was a reformer.
Okay.
So it was a full reformer, and it had been sitting in her garage for a while. So she gave me a really good deal. She said I could have it for $250. So I bought it from her, and then we set it up in the living room, and it was great. And she used it all the time.
And did you use it too?
Yeah, I use it on occasion, but
And I imagine your mom used it before it sat for 10 years in the garage.
Well, not a lot. It really just sat in the garage. It was more like a coat hanger for her. We had it at the time for 3 months, I think. And she was doing her whole workout routine that she did weekly. She was religious about this workout routine.
How many times a week would she work out on the machine?
Once, but it was on the dot. once a week. And I used it maybe 4 or 5 times the whole entire time that we had it for those 3 months. And so she was on it, and she was doing like hip thrust, and then I think she went into like a lunge variation. And so I was studying, not really paying attention to her, and all of a sudden I heard a pop. And so when I look, and I was like, what was that? And the wheel had completely come off and like shattered.
Do you happen to have a picture of that?
I do have a picture.
Thank you.
So the top picture is a picture of the reform